Okay, hello everybody. So this is the recording for your week 12 anatomy and physiology. Okay, this is all to do with level 3 beauty, and we're going into tissues. So the anatomy and physiology, and again, just reminding you the way I teach it, we've done cells, we're now doing tissues, then we're going into organ systems and bones. You want to keep the link between everything that you've done so far. So up until now, again, just recapping quickly, we've done all the full body treatments, we've done massage and everything. And now, because you've done that physical part of the units and you've done your assessments based around that, you are now able to understand the anatomy and physiology more. Okay, so today we're going into tissues. All right, so let's give you a skip, and I've actually got a light on today so you can see me. All right. So the first thing is first, from cells to body, I've got my workbook here that you've already had. We've got cells, tissue, organs, systems, and then we've got the skin system. They're all called different words, different names, and everything else. Okay, and then we've got the organisms. So this is what we're doing this week. This is what we're doing next week. Excuse me, I have had a horrendous cold. So we want to define tissue in simple anatomy and physiology language, identify the four main issue types, that's these diagrams here, explain one function of each tissue type, and we want to link that knowledge to understanding why we need to know it as beauty therapists. Okay? A tissue is a group of similar specialized cells working together to perform a shared function. So once we've created the cell, it's then going to start to create the tissue. If you're watching this through YouTube for your own revision purposes, then there are links to other videos in the content underneath. I'm not with it at all today, I apologise. List of other videos in the content below that you can link on that I find really helpful. I have learning difficulties and I learn better through cartoons, fun videos, and singing. It just really helps me, and it helps me remember certain words that are linked to functions. So when it comes to cells and tissue, the absolute beginning of life, this is what will help you further. Okay? So we have these specialized cells, they then work as a team, and then we have the function. All right? So our four main tissue types: epithelial, connective, muscular or muscle, and nervous. They all play a lot of parts within the functions of how the tissue develops and what that does in what we feel, how they react to every single day life. Okay? So, epithelial tissue, surface and barrier. It covers the body's surface, lines cavities and glands, protects, absorbs and secretes. There's some key words there for any exams. And the beauty link to this is the skin barrier. We exfoliate it and then we apply the product application towards the end to produce that barrier. Now remember, if you're doing a facial or you're doing a massage, the skin is very sensitive. So that's why we link it to that. Okay, the tissue has been manipulated through the muscles. The skin has been manipulated in a facial through the massages. And when we exfoliate all of that, we're getting rid of all dead skin cells. We're renewing the cells in the way they're building, and the tissue is renewing on the skin surface. So this is how you can sort of link it all to that. The contractions and contraindications are open wounds, infections, inflammation, hypersensitivity, and recent aggressive exfoliation. You'll find if we exfoliate too much, the pH levels in the skin change. It becomes too sensitive. The products that worked before don't work now, etc., etc. And that is the same as the body than it is for the face. All right? So connective tissue, it supports and repairs. Remember that. It supports and repairs. Connects, supports and protects structures, includes bone, blood, adipose tissue, cartilage, tendons and ligaments. Dermis, that's a layer of the skin, contains connective tissue fibers, and the beauty link to that is your contractions and your contraindications, bruising, inflammation, repair and pressure choice. If we have a contraindication, we are not going to continue with the treatment. If we have a contraction, that's something that's happened during or after the treatment. We can have a massage and it can be really heavy, that it has produced some kind of bruising or some kind of redness that lasts more than 24 hours. The cupping massages do the same. If it doesn't go down after 48 hours, then we advise our clients to go and see a GP. It could be down to simplicity like dehydration. It could be down to hypersensitivity. But all these things you would look at when you're going through that consultation process. And this is the main reason why it's so important. We're linking it to the contraction and the contraindications that could occur, that have already been existing problems or issues when we take that consultation process. So pressure affects soft tissue through your massage. Pain, swelling, bruising are all signs to slow down and think safely. Your key words here is collagen, elastin, the matrix, repair and inflammation. They're your key words, so I'd make note of those. So the muscle and nervous tissue. Muscle tissue connects to create movement, posture and heat. Massage works over skeletal muscle. The nervous tissue sends impulses, skin receptors, detects touch, pressure, temperature and pain. Client care link, your pressure should respond to feedback, pain and sensation. And your professional link, never force through pain, adapt, pause and record or refer. Okay, so if your client is wincing at the fact that they're in pain, but they haven't told you this on the consultation, or you haven't detected it and you've only detected it now because it might be the first time you're working with them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm fit and well. But you might feel a lump. They might have torn a tendon and they haven't realised, but they're complaining about a pain in their shoulder. All these things we start to feel when we get into the massage. So you need to be vigilant still. And you make a note in every single thing that you've seen, felt and heard on that consultation form. It will also go into a modification. You need to avoid the area. So when it comes to this particular scenario, I want you to have a look at it. A client has tender bruising on the thigh from bumping into a table. They ask for a firm massage over the area. So number one, just have a think about what tissue is involved with this. So you've got to think that they've bumped into the table, and when we do that, a bruise might appear, some more than others. Okay, again, there's other things that go into that. It could be medication, lack of iron, a bad diet, lack of hydration. So everybody would react to that bump on the leg more than others. So if that is the case, whenever we brush past something or we put our hand over it, we can feel that sensation of the bruise. So what tissue has the damage? So just have a think about that for the moment. Okay. Now, if you got it right, it would be the nervous tissue, the tissue that makes up part of the nerve, well, the nervous system makes up part of that tissue because it's a sensation they can be feeling. It could be a feeling of like pins and needles. It could be a severe bruise that it doesn't go away very quickly and the pain stays there for a few days. It can be discomforting. It's tenderness and nerve pain. So we have to avoid direct pressure over bruised, painful and inflamed tissue. We don't go in harder. We don't add more pressure. Personally, I'd avoid the area altogether. Once the bruising has gone down, once the marks have started to disappear, then we can talk about some stretching if you have your personal training qualification. We can go into nutrition if you've got that nutritional qualification. And as for beauty therapy, we are still going to feel around the area, speaking to the client, asking them how they feel, adding the pressure as we go along. Okay? Record anything that the client feels discomfort, but do not add more pressure to that area. So I'd like you to fill in the gaps here. So tissue equals groups of similar what working together. Name one epithelial tissue location. Give two examples of connective tissue. What does muscle tissue do? What does nervous tissue send? We've just spoke about that in the bruising scenario. Now here you've got an exit ticket. I'd like you to write one paragraph. How does understanding tissues help a beauty therapist work safely? Think about everything that we've just said in regards to your contractions, your contraindications, and what and how that looks like when we're giving these treatments. Okay? So, next week's lesson is all about bones. If you've done, let's go back to that slide. It won't let me. If you have answered those questions, well done. But I'd like you to answer them for yourself. So I'm not going to put them in the comments below, but I will link more videos in regards to tissue and how cells and tissue work together as a family, as a team, to create our body's systems and organs. Okay? Answer those questions, use them as research tasks for your own self, and that also builds momentum for revision. Also gives you some kind of knowledge as you work forward on your course. So next week I'll be back because it'll all be about bones. All right, see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to week 13, bones. So we've already skipped a slide because I'd already recorded it over. So look back on cells. I've uploaded everything on there. I've uploaded everything for tissues. And now we're going to move on to the skeleton. So I'm just going to do a recap from last session. So number one, name one type of tissue from what you've learned last week. Number two, which tissue type is bone classed as? Think about how it all connects together. There's a little bit of a hint. And why do therapists need to understand bones before massage and body treatments? The reason why is because if you don't understand how the body functions, or you don't understand what you're doing in regards to your treatment protocol, you can cause harm, you can cause damage, you won't understand it, you can't explain why it's happened, you can be sued. It's just not a happy ending, you know what I mean? So that's why you need to know everything. Now, whilst I appreciate I teach anatomy and physiology to this in depth, I also teach it through the treatments that you're doing. So one thing that I like to do is, as you're massaging somebody on your skills tests, your induction assessments, at the start of your treatment processes, once your confidence is built up and you know what you're doing and you've learnt the basics of anatomy and physiology, we start to label bones. We start to talk about what we're doing, what the function is, what we're looking to produce, what we're looking to get out of the treatment, why the client, you know, how to treat the client communications, the consultation process. All of it is to do, all based around the anatomy and physiology. Once we've done that part, I then go into anatomy and physiology deeper, so you can really focus on your studies. So that's the main reason why you need to have the understanding of anatomy and physiology when you're giving full body treatments, facials, etc. All right. So first things first then, 5 functions of the skeletal system. What do you think they are? They're in this slide here. We've got support, protection, movement, blood cell production, and mineral storage. Think when we get older, we have an oil that goes around our joints to make them move and make them free. And as we get older and we go through different hormonal changes, male and female, it starts to dry up. This is why yoga is important, Pilates is important. This is why regular well-being is important, i.e. massages, facials. Not only do we need to stimulate the reproduction of cells because everything's starting to slow down, you have to think of the wear and tear on the body, the clicking of the joints. When people sit and click their knuckles all the time and they wonder why they're so sore the older they become, is because you are forcing those bones to do something they don't need to. You know, we can feel that it needs to click, but it becomes a habit, and that's all it is. It's not dangerous, but as well as irritating personally, it's also can be something to do with your nervous system trying to regulate, you know, things like that. But it's not the most ideal situation when you're forcing to click your bones and your toes and your hips. You need to let the body work itself. It can renew itself to certain extents. It can do amazing things. So understanding all of this right from the start is what helps you understand how magnificent the human body is. I think it's fascinating. These are the main parts that will come up in any anatomy and physiology exam you have. 5 functions of the skeletal system. So, number 1, support. The skeleton gives the body shape and supports posture. Shape, posture. That's all you need to know. Protection. The skull protects the brain. The ribs protect the lungs and the heart. Think about that, the rib cage. It's a cage round the most vital organs that make us breathe, and the heart pumps blood round the body and helps pump oxygen round the body. God. So we need them. You know what I mean? Without your heart or your lungs, you ain't breathing and there's no blood round the body. What are you? DEAD. You know what I mean? Duh. Movement. Bones act as levers for muscles to pull on. So our tendons, our ligaments, all to do these movements. Again, as I said right at the beginning, in cells and tissues, the body works together as a team. It's a shame we can't do that fully as human beings. Blood cell production. Red marrow produces blood cells. The bone marrow, that should be, produces blood cells. It's in the bone. Hence why vitamins and minerals really, really help, especially in today's world where we have destroyed the earth. Mineral storage. Our bones store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus. Okay? Again, if you're in the new age or the spiritual situation, especially if you're going into holistic therapies, we hold the same minerals as a star. So effectively, we're little stars, come as a human being. Phosphorus, zinc, magnesium, calcium, it's all made up the same as a star. Fascinating. I'll see if I can find a video for you to have a look deeper into that a bit later on. The next thing in your exam is the axial and the appendicular. So, the axial, central line of the body. I used to get this wrong in every exam I did in my 20 years ago. Honestly, I used to really, really struggle with this. The axial center line of the body, it contains the skull, the vertebrae, the ribs, and the stratum. Okay, sorry, sternum. Stratum corneum is part of the face, layers of the skin of the face. So your ribs and your sternum. So this bit, your thoracic, your spine, and your skull. That's your axial, okay? Your appendicular is your limbs plus girdles that attach limbs, shoulder girdle, pelvic girdle, arms and legs. Classify: skull, ribs, pelvis, femur and scapula. Then write why in one short phase. Use centerline versus limb girdle logic. That's probably gone over your head, but here's an easier explanation. If you need some notes to write this down because you're not part of my class and you haven't got a workbook, that's fine. So, axle, skull. What's the skull? The head. It's protecting the what? The brain. Okay? Your ribs, rib cage, axle. What's it protecting? Your lungs and your heart. That's it. Your vertebral column. It's your axle, and it is supporting column. It is the supporting column. It's a stick, a column in the middle of the body where everything comes off. Your arms, your rib cage, your head, everything comes off your vertebrae, your spine. Yeah? Your pelvis, appendicular. It moves forward and back, and it's a girdle joint. It twists. The joints in it twist and turn. Your hips down to your knees down to your ankles. It twists and turns for you to be able to walk forward, walk backwards, walk sideways. Appendicular, your pelvis. Your humerus is part of your appendicular in your arm. Yeah? It's an upper limb. Okay, it's around this area, shoulder, arm, your humerus. Your femur in your thigh, your leg, appendicular. It's a lower limb in your leg. Your scapula, it's an appendicular. Your scapula is along here at the back. That's your clavicle. Your scapula is along here in the back. It's a girdle attachment, and it's an upper limb. Your sternum is your axle, okay? It's your central chest bone. I was told once, axle is the front, appendicular is the back, but it never helped me because your hip joints are at the front, and that is an appendicular joint, yeah? So it doesn't really help. Your hips are your pelvis, it doesn't really help. So try and understand, again, skull, axle, ribs, axle, spine, axle, pelvis, appendicular, humerus, appendicular, femur, thigh, appendicular, scapula, back, appendicular, and sternum, axle. It's here. It helps you to breathe. Yeah, it's in that area. Okay, we're talking about revising, we're talking about understanding and really understanding where these bones actually are. So, bone types, you're going to need to know that next. Your bone types. Your bone types are long, short, flat, irregular, and sesamoid. I forget, sesamoid. So what would be your long bones after what we've just discussed? Would they be in your leg? If you answered yes, that is correct. Your humerus, yeah, in this area. That's quite a long bone. Yes, it is. Your humerus is a long bone. Short bones. They are tiny, short bones. Carpals, metatarsals, yeah? Small cube-like bones for stability and movement. Okay, very, very small movements. All right, like that. Your flat bones, where do you think they would be? They've got to be flat. If they were long or they were rigid, they wouldn't be here, would they? And they wouldn't be in your spine. So your flat bones are your ribs, your skull bone, your sternum. Your irregular bones is your vertebrae, your spine. And we've all seen a picture of the vertebrae. Yeah, it isn't just one long column, one long stick. It has all different parts of it because it holds so many organs and systems inside of it to make the body function. The way I keep it in my head is it's like an electrical cable. And you know, you put that, it used to be trendy to put that plastic tidy round them to keep all cables nice and tight so your cat doesn't eat the wires. That's what the vertebrae is. It's holding inside of that bone marrow, blood supply, the nervous system, right from the brain down through the spine. I'm going on. Magnificent piece of machinery, but it's an irregular bone because we have all the discs, all the vertebrae coming off of it, and there's all different sections to the spine as well. Okay, we're going to go through that again. So a long bone is a femur or humerus, legs or arms. Short bone is your carpals, your tarsals, all these tiny little square bones in the hands, the kneecap, the toes, the elbow. Yeah. Your flat bones is your rib cage, so think about those. And your irregular bone is your vertebrae, your spine. Got it? We move on. Okay. So we've got a beautiful picture here, thanks to Dawn, my lovely AI bestest best friend. Long bone structure, label and example. These pictures are phenomenal. We live in a great era because back in the day you never got those, and you had to open the big books and you had to look through them, go and photocopy them, pay like 25p to photocopy the picture, and it still weren't the same that's in the diagram on the exam. These pictures are so detailed you won't get them in the exam. But the idea is to have the knowledge to answer them without a problem. You should be able to see it and think, I know what that is. Okay, so this is a long bone structure, and we're going to label it and we're going to explain. So the compact bone, think about everything nice and tight and inside of the bone. Okay, that's dense in strength. The spongy bone is like a light honeycomb structure. The bone marrow is blood cells and fat storage. Your periosteum, I'm not amazing at pronouncing these words, I apologise, is repair, nerves and blood supply. Periosteum, can't remember. And then your cartilage is your smooth joint surface. Periosteum, that's it. Periosteum, there you go, I'm back on it. So this is the understanding of what's inside that bone. Okay, the bone holds so much in itself, it's unbelievable. It's like when you did cells, it's got its own little planet, its own little organism system. It's phenomenal. Now in this picture, really well, you can see the blood supply going in the bone. And some people are actually that arrogant, and not a lot of people know a lot about the body, that they're like, oh, there's no blood in the bones. And there's a blood supply to the bones. If you do yoga, if you teach Pilates, if you do a lot of fitness, the first thing we say as personal trainers, even as a beauty therapist, the first thing we want to do is do what? We want to warm up the body. So of course the bones have a blood supply and a fat storage because we have to survive, and it has its temperature. We have our own thermostat. It's called homeostasis, which is something we'll talk about a bit later on. So if the bones don't have any blood supply, it won't function, it won't move. Remember that oil I spoke to you about before, the synovial fluid? When that goes around the body, the Hindus talk about it all the time in yoga. That's what we're working. Remember the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz? Yeah? All of those things are about oiling up the joints. We oil up the joints in yoga and Pilates, in fitness, going into massage. We're warming up the body for all of that supply to keep going. When we talk about a contraindication and we have somebody with severe arthritis, severe osteoporosis, maybe MS, again, all these different things are to do with the bones and the muscles and how the nervous system works around them. With osteoporosis and arthritis, that synovial fluid is drying up and the bones start to seize up where they are. It's incredibly painful. And then the swelling and the water retention starts, because what the body is doing is trying to protect that injury. With MS, we have different points of the nervous system going through all these different joints to jolt and move the body that we haven't given the signal to do it. It's like you're out of control. You can't fully control it. And then slowly it's a deteriorating disease. So it's a muscle wasting disease, and it's very, very heartbreaking. However, the more and more and more we understand and learn about the body in beauty therapy, in science, through anatomy and physiology, through fitness, through yoga, through Pilates, we can start to make preventative medicine in regards to movement and structure and what's happened to that person. And then we go into a whole different level of holistics and understanding of that individual. But these are the basics of it. And as you can see in that picture, there is so much going on, and that is just inside the bone. Okay? So the long bone structure, you might want to get your pen and paper. So compact bone, its dense outer layer providing strength and protection. Compact bone, think like a plaster. There's a plaster called Coplan or K-Plan, and you put it on your blisters. That's what the compact bone is doing. It is providing strength and protection. It's a dense outer layer, like a plaster, if that helps you remember it. The spongy bone, think of SpongeBob SquarePants. He's got holes in his sponge, yeah? That's what the light honeycomb structure, reducing weight and absorbing stress, is all about. It works like a sponge on impact. Bone marrow, it produces blood cells, okay? It produces blood cells. Red marrow produces the blood cells, and the yellow marrow stores fat. Okay? Red, yellow. Pretty easy. Red blood, yellow fat. Okay? If you watch, I was looking at something the other night. What's her name? I can't remember the lady that goes and does all the, she's quite famous. I can't remember her name. She goes and does all the beauty documentaries and stuff like that. If you go, Olivia Attwood, that's her name. If you go and have a look at Olivia Attwood, she's got a video where she actually has liposuction on herself, and she goes and sees it done on somebody in a clinic. That will jog your memory in why fat is yellow, because it is yellow. Or if you watch a tummy tuck being done, you'll see the fat that they take away. Yeah, it's yellow. Cartilage, smooth covering at joints, reduces friction and absorbs shock. That's in your knee, and it can dry up and it can go away with wear and tear. So when people have a knee operation, that's what's happened with the cartilage. The bone joints are rubbing together to cause that pain, just like osteoporosis and arthritis. You can get it in your ankles, your knees, that drying up of the fluid, and now the bones are rubbing together. So there's nothing to reduce the friction or to absorb the shock. Get it? Blood vessels supply oxygen, nutrients, and remove waste from living bone tissue. What goes in has got to come out. What we've used has got to come out as waste. All right? So do you think you've got that so far? I'm sure you have. So bones are living connective tissue. So living tissue, bones have cells, blood vessels and nerves. Repair, bones can remodel and heal, but treatment must respect pain and injury. Remember that. And safety. Recent fracture, unexplained pain or inflammation can mean, I can't even read that, postpone or refer. That's in regards to your treatment. Any unexplained pain, anything that they can't explain, but there's some swelling or something there, you avoid the area or do not go ahead with the treatment. Offer them something else. If they've got a dodgy knee, lots of people say, oh, I don't know what I've done there. It's bruised, it's full of fluid, don't touch it. Explain to them that you will have to avoid the area. Even after all my nearly 24 years of being in the industry, I'll still get people tell me they're absolutely fine. You can see that there's a bit of wear and tear to the knee. You can feel in the muscle tissue that the quads are really tight because it's trying to support the injury to the knee. They can't explain to you what they've done. They're of a certain demographic, a certain age. Stop your treatment. Advise them to get some ice on it. And what you can do is you can work another part of the body. So you would offer a longer back massage, a head and scalp massage, maybe a complementary facial, something like that. All right. Remember what I said before, we don't push and work through that pain. Same as fitness, we just stop. So do not diagnose, because we're not medical practitioners. So don't bother doing that at all. Forget it, no matter how much advice and experience you've got. Do consult, observe and record, which is what I've just given you an example of. Do adapt or postpone when needed. I've just given you an example of that. And do work within professional boundaries. I've just given you an example of that. All right. So when bone knowledge matters in beauty therapy, positioning clients comfortably and safely, avoiding pressure over vulnerable or painful areas, understanding posture and bony landmarks, adapting massage around injury or medical concerns, and explaining treatment decisions professionally. Examples: spine, ribs, scapula, clavicle, pelvis, patella, ankles, and wrists are all areas where pressure and positioning matter. Listen, you're not going to go smashing somebody's body up over their spine and their rib cage. That's not a good massage. That's not a good treatment. Okay, you're going to disturb their peace. You're going to cause a lot of discomfort. We're avoiding the bony area. We are working on the fatty part of the body. All right, that's where we can do our petrissage, our tapotement, our friction. All right. Effleurage, absolutely fine. We're introducing the movement and we're exiting the movement. But those harsh, more in-depth, manipulating movements to flush out the lymphatic system, to remove the toxins, to make that person have a strong sense of well-being, which is what body treatments are all about, i.e. massage. We're not going to start smashing them around with, around their rib cage and their sternum and, banging here along the clavicle. It's not very nice. It's a bony area, so we do the lighter movements over the bony area. We avoid the spine. We avoid the spine. We work either side of the spinal cord, okay? Because remember what the spine's got in it. So practice prompt: choose one bone and explain why a therapist must know it. So why must we know the spinal column, the vertebrae, the thoracic, the spine? Why must we have to gain information and knowledge of that? I've said it about 100 times. Okay, we're going to go into a case study now then. So, bone-related safe practice, professional wording. For your safety, I am going to avoid the area today and record what we discussed. Nice and simple. In a nice, kind, friendly voice. I'm just going to take a note down what we've discussed today, the areas that we're going to be avoiding, and then next time when you come back in 4 weeks' time for your next treatment, we're going to have a look at it again and we'll see how you feel. Contraindication versus adaptation. We're encouraging the safe, confident language around what we've seen, felt and heard face to face with our client. We don't need to go off and talking about them. We don't need to go whispering along in the staff room saying, oh my God, I've just found a lump on her back. It's not up to us. We're not doctors. So we advise and we make notes of it. Suspected or recent fractures, do not treat over the area. As I say, we avoid. Osteoporosis, lighter pressure and extra care. Heat treatment as well will help. Inflammation, heat, swelling or severe pain, adapt or postpone. We've spoke about this. We're going to avoid the area. Reduced mobility, support positioning and dignity. More towels, roll the towels up. Always record your decision. Again, write that on your consultation form. Linda likes to have her bolsters placed under her ankles, and she also likes extra bolsters around her chest area. That's it. We don't need to talk about Linda's massive double Z size chest, We don't need to talk about the fact that she fell over on her ankle in IB for on a girls' weekend away. That's all we need to put. So next time a client goes to that consultation card, they'll see exactly how to set up their couch ready to treat Linda. You got it? Simple as that. So, treatment decision scenario. A client reports a suspected wrist fracture from 3 weeks ago. Their wrist still hurts. They want full body massage today. Number one, what is your treatment decision? Are you going to treat them? Yes, you are. It's a fractured wrist. Only out of experience and how long I've been working with many bodies for, it can also cause a lot of tension up the forearm, in the carpal tunnels here, okay, around the wrist, a lot of pressure here. Your ulna and radius, the bones in the forearm, with the muscles and tendons surrounding that area, might be tense and hard where they're trying to protect the fracture in the wrist. The hands might be losing a bit of circulation, they might be cold. So what you're going to do is your treatment decision is you are going to continue with the treatment, but you are going to avoid the area. So you're not going to do the arms or the hands today, and you're going to explain why. If you have a fractured wrist, I am not a medical professional and we are not insured to medicate or advise. But what I do advise you to do is go and see your GP or go to the local walk-in centre. You're more than welcome to have a massage today, but we will be avoiding the hands and arms. Okay? Very light pressure over the shoulders when you're working the back. Very light pressure, because again, the injury can come from the shoulders where everything is compensating. Remember, the body works together as a team. So when one thing goes wrong, the rest of the body is trying to compensate it to make it better. Why is this safer? Number one, it's protecting you and your business from any insurance claims, being sued. You have given clear, concise information and you've made a note of it before she goes on Facebook and goes, oh my God, look at my wrist. It's like 10 times swollen. I thought I'd done something to it, but she carried on massaging over it. And that's it. That's the end of your business, because you've shown how unprofessional you are and it's all over Facebook and Instagram and everything else. So we advise, we write it down, we discuss the plan with the client, and we make sure we have their yes or their no. That's it, their confirmation. What would you record? I've just said all that. You'd record it all. I'm avoiding Linda's arm because she suspects a fracture. She's going to the GP, so we are not doing hands, arms, or whatever. Light pressure over the shoulders, and to make up for that time, we're going to do a head and scalp massage or something along those lines. When would you request medical clearance? 6 weeks' time. You're going to request medical clearance in 6 weeks' time. If she chooses not to give you any of that, excuse me, which does happen, people do, you've got everything written down for everybody to remember what they're waiting for. It might be the case that she just needs a little text message from the doctors to say this person has the ability to continue with treatment or anything like that. You need to have some kind of proof. Until she gives you that proof, you will insist on avoiding the area, and you will go through a consultation every single time she turns up, and you will make sure that she or he signs it. You need to protect yourself in every way, shape or form. So a model answer for this would be: do not massage over or around a suspected or painful fracture. Postpone or adapt the treatment to avoid the affected area only if safe and appropriate. And advise client to gain medical clearance. Record the consultation details, client comments, your treatment decision, and any advice given. Never diagnose, which is everything we've just discussed and put out there. Okay? So, your revision carousel. Oh, I've gone on today, haven't I? We're on it today. So, your revision carousel. Define tissue, name 4 tissues, name 4 tissue types. Bone is which tissue? Bone is which tissue? 5 skeletal functions, axial or appendicular, and long bone labels. 2 minutes per station. Okay, this is an exercise for you to revise and recap what you have already learned today. This is a great way of making simple revision notes when there is so much going on, because it is so overwhelming. And out of all the years I've been teaching, it doesn't matter, and I've tried all different ways, it doesn't matter how you try and break it down. It is there's just so much to do, so much to talk about. So breaking it down with these sort of revision carousel questions or flashcards is just those key words to memorize and make the brain trigger that memory for you to be able to answer it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So your exit ticket. So answer in full sentences. One-way tissue knowledge supports safe treatment. Two functions of the skeletal system. One example of a flat bone, and one reason to adapt, postpone treatment. And then hand in your answers before you leave. That's obviously if you're here with me in class. If you're not, these exit ticket questions are going to be up on your Q&A sessions on this video. Again, like I do every week, I will label other videos for you to catch up with. All right? And we will come back to those questions next week when we have our recap session. Okay? There's also a revision page, one-page brain dump. So I won't be able to put this on the videos, but if you do have the workbook, fill this page without notes first, then use your notes to fill in the gaps and add. It's just a really, really nice way to think about what you've memorized and what you remember. And it's very, very fascinating how the brain works. What words can you recite and remember more than others? For me, it's the epithelial. That's why I say it the way I do, because it sticks in my brain. Yeah? Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, and we will see you all soon. Goodbye.